Alrighty. Instead of listening to about 20 minutes of waffling, I'm trying to summarise what I've been thinking. With this system here, the one, that thing there runs into this 1-inch line. This system is always full of water, all the time. Goes into the bathroom and all that. Goes down to the laundry. This system is full of water the whole time. And not just because that there is 12 foot above the line is, that's not the reason why it's working well. The reason it's working well is because there's no large bubbles and fucking bullshit caught in the lines. It's nothing to do with the height of the overhead tank, really speaking. I mean, that helps, because that does have a direct influence on the pressure in the line, but it's really the fact that it's full of water the whole way. And it will continue to be like that just so long as I don't run the damn tank out, which just means refilling it every week while I'm doing laundry, by turning on the electric water pump out of the big tank. And henceforth, as a result, the water flows inside all right, and nothing's a problem because there's water in the line. This little shitstorm and shenanigan has a bit of trouble. I will admit I believe some of that trouble is to do with the T-piece around there, because I'm not joking, sometimes when that other drum around the other side is full or filling up, I'm actually filling it up now out of the corrugated tank, just to empty the corrugated tank, the water will actually come right around, because the stupid T-piece is literally a T as opposed to a Y, and it's two half-inch connectors, a 3/4 inch connector that has a half-inch, that's restricted back to a half-inch hole onto those two half-inch bits. Sometimes it just comes from the drum around the other side, right through the T-piece, and straight out into this, and it refills this up a little bit, and then this one will drop a bit. That's a little bit of a trouble, because it really should be a Y connector that's that's two half-inch bits going to a 3/4 inch bit that is actually a 3/4 inch hole, not a half-inch hole with a 3/4 inch fitting on it, which is literally what it is. That's the way they've done it. It's just a shithouse design, that T-piece. But that's not the real issue. I believe a lot of the real issues here to do with the fact that this is sort of a gravity feed. Like, we put a little bit of water in that and hope it flows down and continues to flow down. But there's so much air in the damn line that as soon as you get any real influx of water, next thing you got all these frickin' bubbles and shit, because there's so much air in the line, and it just chokes it all up, and it just causes a shitstorm. And it doesn't really help that there's a couple of little ups and downs with the initial piece, before it gets out to where the grass goes green, and then it starts dropping consistently down without any little ups and downs. It's not just that, it's the fact that there's so much bloody air in the line, and I've got a feeling, I blew down this before to get things fired up, as I might have already said, and I'm not joking, it spat some air back up, but it actually spat water out the fucking end of that. Now, there's no part of the system that is bloody 5'10". Well, by the time I stop sagging, it's probably only 5'6", but there's no part of the system that's that high, and it was probably just literally the air that I blew down the line and that pressure I created by pushing water back up the line that caused it to spit out the top here. I don't really think this is quite as good as it could be, and I don't really think it's letting out the air bubbles as good as it could either. I truly believe that the pure fact of me trying to get every single drip down there and having this flow down as it comes in, but essentially be full of air when there's no rain coming through the drums underneath the gutters. That's probably what's causing a lot of the problems. And I really think the way to fix it is to do it the same way as the successful system that is hooked into the laundry in the house. And that is flood the entire thing from somewhere down past the cypress pines there, where it really starts to drop off big time, and have the line flooded from there right back, well, back to these drums. And I think that is what may fix a lot of the problems. Now, I thought, oh, but you'll be holding a lot of water in the line, blah, 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 blah. This here is a 50-metre roll. And I'll tell you what, when we filled up that 1-inch line that runs into the house, it took a fair bit of water into the lines. But this is 3/4 inch, and it's a 50-metre roll. Now, when I look at this, and you think about, let's say if we cut all this up, we just hypothetically, we slash it all, and we try to fill all this pipe into a bucket. What's it going to be, 10 litres, 20 litres, 2.5 gallons, 5 gallons? Times that by 4. That's 50 metres. We've got 200 metres running down there, so times it by 4. What's that? Anything from 100 litres to 200 litres. No, hang on. Anything from about, yeah, it's 4 times the size, so anything from 40 litres to 80 litres, which is, it's 80 litres would be 20 gallons, 10 to 20 gallons at a maximum to fill into this line. And sure, you might, quote-unquote, lose that water in the line, but then the line will be full and I'll stop having all these flow problems, because at that point it will be based on a system much like this, not necessarily 12 foot tall, but full of water with no air bubbles causing all these chugs and the blockages and the airlocks and the slow ups because it's trying to go glug inside the line itself, and all these stupid sort of shit which causes everything to slow up. And I thought, how am I going to do that? I've got to get another drum. You know, what am I... Have I got to put a drum past those cypress trees or what? And let's turn this off. How, you know, am I going to do this? And I thought to myself, well, maybe, just maybe, there's an easier way than having an actual drum that it, you know, fills into and a second outlet. Because a lot of these, you know, you got your top and you got your one tap. I haven't seen any with 2 taps. And then on that, you know, it's only a 1/2 inch incoming, whereas, you know, I want to have a 19 mil incoming line. Now, when I find a bit of chalk, I'll draw out what I think is going on, what I think should be done. Have a drums at the house. Yeah, sure, fine. The one around the other side always chokes up a lot more than this does. This one always seems to flow out without a big deal. The one on the other side just seems to... If there's any fuck-ups, it'll always be the one around the other side. Almost guaranteed every time. So if I put that here and do away with all the ups and downs and the airlocks in that, we might have solved part of the problem. So I have the 2 drums here at the house. They go into the little T-piece, which then goes off down the hill to the cypress pines, whatever, and then the hill starts to drop off shortly thereafter, and then it goes right off. We could get the water to hold into the lines simply by lifting this fucking line up, and do away with some bizarre drum that's got to have, you know, an overflow that continues on down to the IBCs, but is fed by a lowest point possible, like a connector, you know, in the bottom as you feed in, and then you have your overflow so that you continuously hold water in the lines and sort of. It's not that much playing around if you let it settle for a couple of days, but you can basically get a level of what it is at this end versus, by keeping on filling this, versus what it is down at the other end, right down to the cypress pines. You can work out the level. But you can do away with all that simply by lifting the line up in the air and probably putting another T-piece with a riser on it and then having it go back down again. And that means that from the drums to that high point in the air, that water, that'll be water in the line and only water in the line. And then from that riser on, it can just drop down there. And if there's any glugging that needs to occur in the short distance between the IBCs and where you've lifted this line up high, that can suck in the air that it needs to suck through the riser. And yeah, it might be an idea to lift that line up and, you know, even go to a bigger connector or something like a, you know, a couple of foot of 1 inch line or something like that to sort of act as a bit of an overflow with a riser on the end closest to the pipe that goes down the IBCs. But just something to keep the water in the lines. And instead of pissing around with the drum, I think it's literally just a case of you lift the friggin' line up, and if that means putting a star picket and wiring up to the friggin' star picket, you know, zip tying it to the star picket, hey, that may be the bloody answer. And that may be all that there needs to be is the answer. That can fix all this glugging and all the crap, which I reckon is restricting the flow. And, you know, and we lose fucking, you know, we'll lose 20 gallons filling the line. So bloody what? You know, if it's going to take 2 inches of water, 2 inches of rain, actually slightly less than 2 inches of rain because it's not including the corrugated iron tank, to fill all 5 IBCs, then it ain't going to take many inches of rain to fill the frickin' line, is it? It's probably only going to take 1/16 of an inch to fill the bloody water line. You know, so big deal, you know. So anyway, that might be a solution to all these glugging shenanigans. And yeah, do away with a lot of the grief we're having. This is emptying slowly, but like I said, you know, I've got to blow down the line to get the damn thing to start. We actually had 3/8 of an inch last night. Now, if 13 mil is supposed to fill an IBC, that IBC should have overflowed, but what was actually happening, I think, was it was just overflowing out of that little damn tank because it, that other drum there, because that drum round there just wasn't bloody emptying properly. It wasn't emptying at all, actually, when I turned up. So I think it had just been flowing down the sides and we lost a whole heap of water on the ground. But yeah, one of these things, I think that really is the answer. And this whole theory of we'll catch every drop we can by having it just, you know, you put so many litres of water in here and then 5 minutes later it all pours out the other. Nah, it doesn't pour out the other end. It gets disturbed by airlocks and fuck-ups and slows down and, you know, and you got a system that could work, but it's not working because the line's so full of air, all for the pretense of trying to save every drop and not have a full line. But I think that's the way it's got to work. The line just has to be full to avoid, you know, to keep the flow going at a decent pace, because air bubbles are just going to slow up everything and cause everything just to get backed up out here and essentially cause drums to overflow and lose rainwater on the ground. So anyway, that's what we're thinking about, and yeah. Yes. That's only a 10 mil chuck, 3/8 inch chuck on that, and it took the friggin' hole saw. I can't actually believe it. This is a Bordeaux. These are real industrial grade sort of ones, I believe. I've seen the pamphlet by Bordeaux company, and I believe it was a struggling US corporation that was bought by a reasonably wealthy family for peanuts. By that I mean almost $1 million. They paid for the company and turned it around and started manufacturing stuff in Australia. And I've lost a tooth, but by hell, that was under hard circumstances. And yeah, bloody good. These are brilliant. Go through plate steel and everything. You pay for them, but by hell, they work. And it was back in the days when I had plenty of money to pay for fancy things. Anyway, I've basically worked out the height of that drum is a little bit less than 70 centimetres. I've gone and sort of followed weatherboards. There's a drop initially of about 6 inches at least in the water line. That's after it comes out of the little funnel and then hits the wall, follows along and sort of drops a little bit along the wall. I've marked 70 centimetres there with a bit of white chalk. Drum's actually about 68 centimetres or something. And I've got a mark where the hole saw's got to go through. And if the hole saw mark is above that, then we're in business. If we're not, then we might be stressing out a little bit. But shouldn't be, because basically that white pipe around the other side, you know, like the down pipe, the plastic one around the other side, that should be the height that we have to be able to drop, because the bricks it's on are probably about the height of the veranda is here, which is, I've got your floor joist is only a couple of inches off the ground. Yeah, so we should be pretty right. And at that point I'll start belting that line against the wall, and yeah, I've got to put a hole saw hole in the floor, but that's got to be a bit more, fair bit of bullshit to work that out, which might be tomorrow's job. What is it with these pussies, hey? You get 2 water containers full of water and you drink off something off the front lawn. Yeah, I know, I've got to clear all this shit off the front lawn before long. The grass is coming up, and well, it looks all right now. What happens is the grass will just completely bury it, and you won't even know it's there. And yeah, I've got places for different things, and some things need places, and other things just need thrown out. And as I was saying, do anything to drink out of anything other than the water container. You know, right to the cat. Right? Well, we're full. Come right at the edge there. That's good. I feel one of this one. I've still got to go and get the hole saw. Go through the side of this one. Oh shit. Oh shit. I was hoping this was going to be more like one of these, but apparently not. Shit. Well, we might be putting a hole saw into this one yet. We might be swapping these two around. Yeah. Didn't quite realise this brand was all ribbed like that, because I'm used to most of them, not the black cap ones, the red cap ones being completely flat. Yeah, well, we might be doing a bit of moving around tomorrow. Putting this one on the bottom and this one up there, and putting a hole saw through this, which is what we're going to have to do before that gets filled anyway. We're going to have to swap those over, at least. And I've got to put the hole saw through the bottom, and I don't know if I've got an end cap. I can't really even use an end cap. I've got to put a proper tap on the bottom of this, so that I can then hook something to the other side of the tap and just leave the tap turned off to let it fill up. But yeah, another job that must be done. Alrighty, it looks a bit unorthodox, but that's the best I could get it without actually putting a kink in the line. Yeah, little bookshelf thingies, and I just got to sort of move those over and at the original screw hole, and I drill another hole through. Same with that one there. And yeah, have it just trim, you know, 1.5 foot or whatever off the end of that, whatever needs to be, and whack the drum about here somewhere. Got to go out and get the cats some more food. Their sack of food's almost gone. And I'll just show you. That was sort of what I done last night. I'll show you what else I done. I ended up string lining it, just like I done with the gutters, where you whack a screw in one end, a screw in the other end. I whacked it right beside that window there, I think, and right up the end of the house. And you whack a string line between the two, and then you come up very gently underneath with a level to try and work out the level of the string line. And I actually realised that my hole saw hole was like about 2 inches below where this was, so I sort of dropped it down slightly further. But that there's a line, and you've got a slight drop. Looks a bit strange having a black line against a cream-coloured house, but yeah. Here we've gone so far. I got the big hooks in. There's one there-ish. Somewhere there. And yeah, got to piss this piece of shit off first, and then get another bit of wire from there to there, and then sort of basically just zip tie this to that wire, or you can use little bits of tie wire. In fact, I think I just about ran out of tie wire, and in fact where I get the cat food from is a farm supply, so I might get another bunch of tie wire, because it's always good to have, and it's, you know, only about 5% the price of what you pay for zip ties to do the same amount of work. This is the line, which I probably should also put back up. It does have a bit of old tie wire on it. It's the, what's his name? Clothesline that used to be out here, and I took it down when I was changing all the roof shenanigans, but I probably should put it back up again, just to stop it just being a piece of shit that tangles everything up. But anyway, Kitty's thinking it's alive because she can shake it. You're funny pussy, ain't you, hey? You're funny pussy. Anyway, in this, with this one here, you might have wondered how I was going to get it through. This is where I blocked up to keep all the rabbits out. It's a condenser for air conditioning system out of a car, and a shitload of bricks. What I can actually do is disconnect the line from the drum there. I don't know if you can see that. And by the time I come around this side here, I've actually got a bit of extra slack in it. So if I just pull that one up through there and whack it on there, there's actually, yeah, a bit of extra slack. Geez, I'm pleased with how this one's going. It's looking remarkable, really. I'm going to get some kale. It's the kale. Anyways, this may, I think I don't know if I've got 1/2 inch ones or not. I may have 1/2 inch ones, but there's quite a chance that I'm going to lift this up, get it out from underneath the house and all that shit, lift it up, and somewhere here or that side or whatever, just run a second bunch of hose clamps straight under this. You'd be surprised, these ones almost didn't seem to fit, and you go to stick them on and they're like, that's not completely circular, it's almost made it oval when it screws in, but they're apparently the right size ones. So I could probably put that in as well, you know, and it might be a bit looser, but yeah, don't think I've got extra half-inch saddles. I might have. I'll have to go through my little stash in there. And yeah, I may very well run that from around there straight onto this wall and then just follow that one through and pretty much go through the same hole. I think I've got enough room there. If I don't, just means I flaming whack the drill in again. And yeah, I'll just whack another one through the bloody bottom here or whatever. And then, yeah, go through with that as well. My theory being that, you know, this is sort of going to have enough weight of water to be able to push through the line or whatever it needs to do. And if you know, don't have so many up and down humps and you know, keep on a nice drop and all you've got is just one that goes down, across there and back up, and that's your only up and down hump, then you should be, you know, all right. And, you know, it's, I think the line will make it without a problem anyway. So, yeah. I haven't completely forgotten that guttering around the other side. And at some point I've got to make up something for that too. And I think the best option would be to do as I was intending to do all along and just feed it straight into this. And, you know, I've got a whole stack of 19mm left here to be able to do that. Pussy! No. Frickin' sponge foam out of an old couch that the dogs destroyed. It was here. Anyway, that'll be one of the things. But the main thing that I want to try and do today, we're only a few days, well, literally like 3 days off winter or something. Surprising how it's still so bright. I've got a beam for that. I'm going to sit on the top and try and throw that pool liner over the top of that because look at the wind. There's almost no wind at all. The equinox winds are pretty much gone. So that means I'll be able to put that on without too much of a big deal. Yeah. So finally that'll be sort of a bit more protected. And hopefully save the floor and all that. Ooh. Yeah, I might have had to do a bit more medical shenanigans just then. Yeah. I have sort of been, you know, noticing some as I'm doing stuff around the property here and there, digging out weeds, playing around with IBCs, you know, whatever. If I see any, I'll make a go of it. I should have been deliberately doing my rounds, so to speak, every day, just to check that everybody is all right, if you know what I'm saying. Drive past and check all the bums for heads sticking out, basically. Yeah, I haven't been doing that. I've only just been seeing ones as I've seen them, but this time I thought I'd have a little drive, and yeah, I found one laying down. I think I got to it too late. It seems as though the cervix was closed. It seems sort of weird, almost like there's two separate holes to the cervix or something. And it wasn't just me, you know, feeling gaps in between the front legs or anything like that. I don't know, it might have been premature labour or something like that, but it had a bit of ooze there, and I did have a photo on my old potato cam phone of one that was actually premature, and even down at Chinese Bosses I saw another one that was premature, and I'm not joking. It was literally, like, instead of coming out, you know, more than 2 foot long, it was, you know, 2.5 foot long or whatever. It was literally like a foot long, and that was one that was here, and there's another one similar at Chinese Bosses. I don't know if that one had early labour, but I think it had gone into labour. Nothing had happened. Cervix closes up, and then it'd just been laying there for a day or so, and you could tell how long they've been laying there based on the amount of shit that's sitting behind them, and sort of almost based on the way that they've rubbed the soil back as they've been kicking in an effort to try and stand themselves up. Yeah, a bit pissed really, because that's just a dead sheep walking. It's as simple as that. And if I had seen it yesterday by checking, I might have been able to save it. But now it's up and walking. But if that lamb is indeed, you know, supposed to have been born and nothing happens, and then the labour actually stops and the cervix closes, you know what happens next? It goes rotten inside of it, and it just poisons it, like blood poisoning, and it just fucking dies. So that sheep may be dead in about the next 10 days, regardless of the fact it's walking now, and it looks fine, it'll just fucking drop dead. But yeah, I'm a bit pissed that I didn't go around checking more frequently, but I'm going to have to start doing that on a regular basis now, I think. Instead of just seeing them as I see them and go, oh, there we go, and I'm deliberately going to have to go and do rounds every day to make sure. My father's got another way. He can stand in the right part of the house, set of really good binoculars, and he can pretty much look over half the property with these binoculars. And then if anything's up, then you put your coat on and your hat on and go out there and get ready for some action. And if you're real lucky, you might just go out there with a motorbike and save yourself walking the distance. Although there's a bit of mud, these ATVs seem to have no issues with mud. And yeah, that's his way of doing it. With me, it's probably, I've got a set of binoculars, but they're not that good, and probably best just to drive around the road slowly in my car and sort of look, and that's what I've just been doing. But anyway, I've got to wash my hands and continue on with the day.